Well, hello, I'm David Freeman with Is That Really in the Bible? I want to share something with you that I've probably never shared with the audience before, at least the radio or television program. I never wanted to be religious. It's a strange thing, you know, I was always turned off by religion and religious people. I sort of have thoughts in younger days of maybe being backed into a corner. You know, do you know the Lord, brother? And have you given your heart to the Lord, brother? And sort of being coerced and trying to force a person into, I don't know, saying some words like, yeah, I believe in Jesus, whatever. I was always turned off by that. I remember really early in my life, probably I was around 12 or 13, my parents had this group of religious people over. They invited them into their house. I think the church had asked them, my parents, if they would take these people in. It was called the Radford Group, and they were a group of nuts, a bunch of nutty religious people, and they blamed everything on a demon, you know. Every problem that you had was a demon, you know, and even at that age, I thought, boy, this is some weird stuff, you know. I don't want to be religious. I never want to be religious. But they blamed everything on a demon, you know. One guy started coughing, choking on a cracker, and someone said it was a peanut butter demon. I guess he was eating peanut butter crackers or something like that. But that was how bizarre this little group were. And, you know, they were into speaking in tongues, which to me was nothing more than a gibberish that no one could understand. And yet it sort of almost was like a drug to these people. It made them feel really good. And so the whole persona of religion really was a big turnoff for me growing up. And then it wasn't that I didn't believe in God, or I realized that, you know, that we cannot create something smarter than ourselves. And so I was wise enough, even at an early age, to realize, yeah, there's got to be a creator. I understood that. I mean, I knew I didn't create the sun. I knew no man created the sun and the starry night and the flowers and the tree and everything that I saw around me. You know, man cannot create something smarter than himself. So I knew there had to be a creator. I didn't deny the existence of God. I just didn't want anything to do with religion, if you understand what I'm saying. And, you know, teenage years, you know, running into people telling me that they're Christian. Well, I'm a Christian. My mother told me one time, she said, anybody has to tell you that, run like hell in the opposite direction. If they have to tell you they're a Christian, you know, they should set it by their example, you know, which made a lot of sense, by the way, but people having to tell me that they're a Christian right before they screw you or whatever, you know, the car salesman telling you that, hey, he's a Christian car salesman. And then he takes all your money or whatever. He sells you a piece of junk, you know, a clunker or something like that, whatever. So when God called me at age 24, this was the last direction that I wanted to go. I mean, I really, and I think I resisted it for years after God called me. Because I really reluctantly went in that direction, sometimes against my own will, you know, submitting to God, submitting to the will of God, submitting to God's law. I didn't care much for that either. All of that was really tough for me. I sort of came at it fighting against it. Didn't want to do a lot of things. I know for 4 years after God called me, I would go to church, but I didn't want to dress up. But you know, do you know why I didn't want to dress up? Because I didn't want to look religious. I associated people dressing up in their nice suits and dresses as looking religious. And so I just wore casual clothes. I mean, corduroy, you know, a sweater or something, but I didn't wear a suit and tie, and I didn't want to look religious. And then, of course, one day my mother said, well, David, you know, if you can afford it, you ought to look your best when you appear before God. And so later I began to dress up a little bit and took her advice. When God called me, the thought of ministry never, ever crossed my mind. Believe me, it never crossed my mind. I totally was content with being a wallflower. If I had my way, I would probably go to a big church where I could hide. I'd go in, zip out, zip in, zip out, and wallflower. I didn't want to be noticed or seen or anything like that. And I think later in ministry, when I began to realize, okay, this is the direction God is wanting you to go, and that too was against my will to a large degree, because I did not. The concept of speaking before an audience or speaking in front of people just was appalling to me. Great fear, great resentment, rejection. I didn't want to do that. Did not want to do that. And I think one of the things I've struggled with is, who am I to represent God? Because if God calls you into the ministry, you are to represent Jesus Christ. You are to represent God. You are to, who am I to represent God? Who am I to teach others? Who am I to show others? Who am I to lead others? Has always really bothered me, because, I sort of look at my own shortcomings and realize I come up short in this area, and I don't know if I want to go in that direction of representing my Savior, Jesus Christ, who died for me, who loves me. Who am I to represent this being?
Check us out on the web at isthatreallyinthebible.com.